my name is Jay, co-founder of Legendary Real Estate Services, and we are going to talk about buyer agency in this video. Why you wouldn't want to do buyer agency with your realtor, or would you? Hint, the answer is yes. So let's dive in. Imagine you're about to make an offer on a property and you have two different realtors sitting in front of you. You ask them both, how much do you think I should offer? You turn to the first one and they say, well, based on the research that I've done of homes that have sold in the area that is similar to yours, these are the low, average, and high ranges we should be in. Because of the condition of the property, I think it's closer to this X particular range. And because of what we saw in the house, I think these are great negotiating points that we can further hone in and maybe bring the price down to X or Y amount. What are your thoughts, Mr. or Miss Buyer? You turn to the next realtor and they respond, you know, Mr. or Miss Buyer, I think you should put your highest and best offer that makes sense for you. Which realtor would you prefer? The first one, I'm guessing, I'm hoping, right? You can get two different responses from that same realtor depending on the type of agency representation agreement you have. Without a buyer agency agreement, that realtor sitting in front of you is a sub-agent of the seller and has to work on that seller's behalf. However, if you have a buyer agency agreement, you as the buyer now become our client. And as our client, we can provide additional duties to you that we don't owe to all parties. We can negotiate on your behalf. We're loyal to you. We can provide you information and advice that could make a difference between the type of offer you make and how we structure that offer. You're going to want to have that buyer agency agreement. There is a warning. So say you see a property with a realtor and you sign a buyer agency agreement with them. And then as time goes by, things happen, you realize that, you know what, maybe you want another realtor. For whatever reason, things just aren't working out. So you find another realtor that you really like, that works for you, and you start looking for homes. But that one you saw with that previous realtor, that's the one you really like. So that new realtor puts together an offer for you and you move forward towards closing and the property closes. Because you have an agency agreement with that first realtor and that second realtor procured cause, you could actually be on the hook for paying commissions to both firms. And that is something we definitely don't want you in a position to have to do. That's why you want to be very careful about having a buyer agency agreement. So how do we fix this? Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because we want to work for you. We want to represent you. We want to look out for your best interests. We're getting to know you. We're seeing you on these multiple properties. We're having conversations. We're building rapport. We instinctively want to look out for you and work for you. We can't do that, again, without this agreement. We are confident that once you work with anyone from our team, you won't want to work with anyone else. How do you solve this? This agreement, yes, it's an enforceable contract, but first and foremost, it's a partnership. So it's all about communication and disclosure. What do you need to do? So say you do have a buyer agency agreement and you don't want to work with that particular agent, you want to work with us. Go to them in writing, ask them to terminate, have them amend the contract, come to us, and then what they'll do is they'll provide you a list of protected properties that you've seen with them. And once we have this list of protected properties, we will put those properties into the contract and exclude those properties because they're subject to a prior agreement. That way, everything is above board. If you decide that you want to purchase that property you saw with that other agent, we know that that other agent is going to have to work with you because they procured cause. So there's no conflict of commission there. That's what we can do to protect you so that you're not paying double commissions. There's also something called limited exclusion of properties. So say, for example, you went to an open house, you spoke with the listing agent, you asked about the property and said, hey, you know, I might make an offer, and you kind of went back and forth about some prices. Or maybe you spoke to a neighbor, a friend about their property, they're thinking of selling, you walked over, you kind of threw some numbers out. We would exclude these properties from our agreement for a limited amount of time until we've done our job to procure cause to helping you with that property. If you need to terminate a buyer agency agreement for whatever reason, All you need to do is simply do so in writing and deliver it in accordance with the terms of the delivery provisions in the contract. It's typically via email, and then what that realtor will do is they'll draft an amendment where both parties can agree to terminate. That way, neither party is in breach of contract. That's super important because neither party has a right to unilaterally terminate, meaning you can't just walk away as a buyer and I can't just walk away as a realtor. We could be liable for damages because we're in breach of contract. All you need to do, again, is deliver it in writing, typically via email. That way we can draft an amendment. There's a thing called extension of agreement. If we show you, say, 5 to 10 properties, once the contract is terminated, we would deliver the list of those properties to you, and those properties are protected for 1 year from expiration or early termination. So say the contract expires, you decide to take a break from looking for a home. We deliver you that list of properties, and then 6 months later, you decide to purchase it, but you don't include us in the process. Well, those properties are protected, and that agent who is representing those properties, they're going to say, hey, did you work with a buyer to see this? And if you say yes, then they're going to push you back and say, hey, we don't want you to owe double commissions. Go back and work with that realtor who you have that protected property list with. We earn a commission upon the buyer, you, acquiring an interest in a property or entering into an enforceable written contract to acquire an interest in that property, whether you purchase it outright, via option or 1031 exchange, anything where there's a change in control of the property and you now have control. Commissions are due and payable at closing or the date set for closing. There is a thing called multiple representation relationships. The first one is multiple representation with designated agency. Basically, different agents within the same firm will negotiate for the seller and for the buyer. So say you are working with me, I'm your agent and you're the buyer. Someone from Legendary Real Estate Services, another agent, they have the listing, so they're negotiating with the seller. So with this representation, both my colleague and I can negotiate on behalf of our respective clients. With multiple representation without designated agency, one agent handles the entire transaction for both the buyer and the seller. The key component with this type of representation is that the agent must remain neutral and must be a facilitator throughout the transaction. The last one is where you don't consent to multiple representation. That means, say you are a client of mine, I'm your realtor. If you like a listing that one of my colleagues from Legendary has, we can't write an offer on it because you didn't consent to multiple representation. So ideally, the first two are the ones you want to go with. The contract also outlines the duties we owe to all parties. We have to be fair, we have to be honest, we have to provide relevant real estate market information, fill out and complete the real estate specific contracts, protect your confidentiality, safeguard your earnest money, and disclose material adverse defects. That's anything that could affect the value structure or the health and safety of the occupants within the property, and negotiate with you in an unbiased way. And you might think, wow, that's pretty obvious. Why does that have to be in a contract? You're right, it does seem kind of obvious, but think of it this way. How many of you have had an experience of heard of someone who was dealing with a sales rep and they came out of that experience and they were like, you know what? I don't feel like that was just on the up and up. Imagine if you had this enforceable contract. It usually keeps people above water. Should you have to have it? No, but in this day and age, it's just good business, in my opinion, to have it. It also outlines our duties to you when you are our client. So what are those duties? I hope you didn't hear my dog. You okay? Get it all out. Please don't vomit. All right. We provide you with strategies on pricing, offers, contracts, negotiations, contingencies, etc., inspections. So that's what we do. Material facts, not just adverse material facts, but material facts. For example, hey, I saw that in the government affairs report that they're looking to build a maximum security prison. Wouldn't you want to know that? You'd get that information as our client. We'll also find out if there are other offers on the property, because that could definitely change how you make your offer, the terms that you set in it. We provide loyalty to you. Why is that important? So say if I'm looking for property and I find a property I really like, and then you call me up and say, hey, I really like that property and it's that same property. I can't put my interests above yours. I have to put your interests above mine. So that's what we mean by loyalty. Also, we won't advise another party, especially if they're not our client, if that interest or advice is contrary to yours. We work exclusively on your behalf, and we're looking out for your best interest. If you have any questions, there's my email. Feel free to contact me at any time, or go to our website, click contact us, put your name, email, and submit your question, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, like us on Facebook. We post a lot of our videos there as well. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye now.